Joe, very disturbing development out of the White House with an executive order, and I think it has implications that are. And I want to make sure because there's all kind of rumors, blowing around. I want to make sure we give people the signal, not noise. Walk me through what is this executive order? What was signed? What does it mean? And particularly, what does it mean to the specter of transhumanism, which we constantly keep our eye on 24/7, sir?
Well, Steve, two of the most important elements of transhumanism are genetic engineering, perfecting the human genome, and of course, artificial intelligence, the creation of a digital mind. And yesterday, Joe Biden signed an executive order, the National Biotechnology and Biomanufacturing Initiative, which will provide tons of taxpayer money for research and development in genetic engineering and biotechnology, and will also fund training and will eliminate a lot of the sort of federal or regulatory obstacles to these sorts of things. There's a lot of language in the order talking about ethics and all of this. Every time you see this come up, it always does. But there's one passage in particular that really raised my eyebrows, and I think a lot of people are really stunned by the language used. The passage reads as, "We need to develop genetic engineering technologies and techniques to be able to write circuitry for cells and predictably program biology in the same way in which we write software and program computers." This is the essence of what's known as the bio-digital convergence, seeing organisms as machines and seeing machines as organisms.
Evolution of the 19th century, what humanity basically learned to produce was all kinds of stuff like textiles and shoes and weapons and vehicles. And this was enough for very few countries that underwent the revolution fast enough to subjugate everybody else. What we're talking about now is like a second industrial revolution, but the product this time will not be textiles or machines or vehicles or even weapons. The product this time will be humans themselves. We are basically learning to produce bodies and minds. Bodies and minds are going to be, I think, the two main products of the next wave of all these changes. And if there is a gap between those that know to produce bodies and minds and those that do not, then this is far greater than anything we saw before in history. And this time, if you're not part of the revolution fast enough, then you probably become extinct. Once you know how to produce bodies and brains and minds, so cheap labor in Africa or South Asia or wherever, it simply counts for nothing. Again, I think that the biggest question maybe in economics and politics of the coming decades will be what to do with all these useless people. I don't think we have an economic model for that. My best guess, which is just a guess, is that food will not be a problem. With that kind of technology, you will be able to produce food to feed everybody. The problem is more boredom and what to do with them and how will they find some sense of meaning in life when they are basically meaningless, worthless. My best guess at present is a combination of drugs and computer games.
We know we can change the trajectory. For example, to prevent cancers, scientists are exploring whether mRNA vaccine technology that brought us safe and effective COVID-19 vaccines could be used to stop cancer cells when they first arise.
Most people will be willing to give up their privacy in exchange for much better healthcare based on 24 hours monitoring of what's happening inside their bodies. I guess very soon people will walk around with biometric sensors on or even inside their bodies and will allow Google or Facebook or the Chinese government or whoever to constantly monitor what's happening inside my body, so that the day the first cancer cell starts to multiply and spread, somebody at Google or at the health authority will know and will be able very easily to nip the cancer in the bud.
You can basically do anything with synthetic RNA, DNA. It's like a computer program. So, I think with effort that's not too crazy, you could probably stop aging, reverse it if you want. You can basically do it. You can turn someone into a freaking butterfly if you want with the right DNA sequence.
People could look back in 100 years and identify the coronavirus epidemic as the moment when a new regime of surveillance took over, especially surveillance under the skin.
We'll have medical nanorobots, little robots that are computerized, that are the size of blood cells, that basically finish the job of the immune system.
Direct brain-computer interfaces, replacing organic hands with bionic hands, adding to the body a second immune system, which is not organic but an inorganic immune system, made up of millions of tiny nanorobots inside your body.
Just like your smartphone, even though it's billions of times more powerful per dollar than the computer I used when I was an undergraduate, it can make itself more intelligent a millionfold again by connecting to 1 million computers in the cloud. So a girl in Africa with her $50 smartphone can access all of human knowledge because her smartphone is connected wirelessly to the cloud. We can't do that directly from our brains yet. We do it indirectly through these devices. The devices are getting closer to us. They ultimately will be inside our bodies and brains. And the purpose of this will not just be to access information services like search and translation and encyclopedias wirelessly, but to actually extend the range and depth of our neocortex. We will connect the top layer of our neocortex to synthetic neocortex in the cloud. And so just the way your smartphone makes itself smarter wirelessly by connecting to the cloud, we'll do that directly from our brains.
Feature of virtual reality that you can be someone else. You and I could go into a virtual reality environment and take a walk on a virtual Cancun beach in virtual reality environments. And we'll have virtual bodies in these virtual reality environments, particularly when it's through the nervous system. When we have nanobots in our brains that can shut down the signals coming from our real senses, replace them with the signals that your brain would be receiving if you were in the virtual environment, then it'll feel like you're in that virtual environment. Your body doesn't have to be the same body that you have in real reality. A couple could become each other, for example.
He's now using all of that knowledge to give us his vision for the future.
With especially the rise of brain-computer interfaces and biometric sensors and so forth, it is very likely that within, say, 50 years, people will literally be part of a network. All the bodies, all the brains would be connected together to a network, and you won't be able to survive if you're disconnected from the net, because your own body parts, your own immune system perhaps depends on being constantly connected to the colony, to the network.
Transhumanists believe our bodies will soon be home to swarms of nanomachines that will both heal and also warn of disease. Could millions of microscopic robots soon be swimming in our bloodstreams?
Extend our lifespan and literally bring us into a new level of human evolution.
What the singularity is? If you converge those technologies, artificial intelligence, robotics, AI, quantum computing, advanced chip design, and CRISPR gene editing biotechnology, it converges on a point. And on this side of that point is something called Homo sapien. On the other side of that point is something that's Homo sapien plus or different, right? Biden, these guys have a conference. They have a conference the other day. You know, he signs an executive order. This is not an executive order they just kind of thought of the thing. You look at it, it's very detailed. And of course, the media is going, oh, it's a moonshot for cancer, and it's going to cure, you know, people that have spinal cord injuries and Down syndrome and all these great things are going to be terrific and all that. And Joe Allen's going to give you details more, but down in the middle of it, it says, we consider the biology in the cell to be programmable as a silicon chip, right? Yeah. And they put $2 billion about it, and they have it. So I sit there and go, everybody said all the transhumanist guys keep talking about this, a bunch of wingnuts. It's right there in your face. It's also part of the Great Reset. Because remember, what they talk about, and the woman that runs it now, they talk about edited humans, enhanced humans, the merger of man and machine, and she talks about it, human 2.0. Human 2.0. Think about, have we had a debate on that? Have you noticed any congressional hearings on that? Has that been on MSNBC every night or Fox? Have you noticed? This is the most important thing in us as a species. They run around talking about climate change and all this, the things getting hot, warm, cold. They don't know, up, down. Some theoretical thing that half the mathematicians and physicists and biogeochemists say it's not happening, but that's their religion, right? And Sacramento now is the vax. But they're talking about a real effort that DARPA, and they've created all these new entities. They're hurtling down, and they're not hiding it.